Check, check. All right, it is 6:30, October 22nd, and at this time, I would like to call our city council meeting to order. We will start with Pledge of Allegiance, and then invocation will be given by 6th Ward Council Member Will Forgrave. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask that everybody please take a moment of silence to pray or reflect or meditate on anything they see fit. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, if you'll proceed with the roll call, please.
Mayor Mahoney,
Present.
Councilmember Robinson,
Present.
Vice Mayor Dancy,
Present.
Councilmember Gunn,
Present.
Councilmember Wood,
Present.
Councilmember Hunt,
Present.
Councilmember Forgrave.
Present.
Thank you. We are all present and accounted for. Looking for a motion and support to adopt the agenda.
So
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. All right, we have an agenda that brings us down to number 5. We have no presentations or proclamations. Brings us down to number 6. Looking for a motion and support for us to open a public hearing to determine the necessity of the continuation of the meterless parking operation in downtown Jackson.
So moved.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And public hearing is now open. I will read the rules for speaking before city council. Are these both the same? Okay, thank you. I'll read the rules for speaking before city council during a public hearing to start with. Each speaker will state their name and address. Number 2, during a public hearing, the city council may enact a timeline on all speakers to ensure that all present get an equal chance to speak. Council members may answer questions during this time. Number 3, each speaker shall be polite and courteous to the council and members of the public in attendance. While any speaker is free to express his or her opinion on any subject, no speaker may direct personal attacks at any member of the staff or council unrelated to the manner in which they perform their duties, use obscene language while addressing the city council, or engage in disruptive or disorderly behavior during a council meeting. Number 4, should the mayor determine that any of the listed items listed above and number 3 occur, the mayor may declare the person out of order. Number 5, if a speaker is declared out of order by the mayor and refuses to cease and desist from disruptive or disorderly conduct, the mayor may order the person removed from the meeting. John C. King. It is now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John King, 203 3rd Street here in the city. I'm for the meterless parking. I think it's much better than having meters. I think even if it took the city contributing more to, the parking, I would prefer that than going towards putting up meter parking. I don't know, like for new business and things, if the city could have sort of like a financial aid deal to allow certain new companies, or if they're financially stressed. I would even would want to see something like that before I would want to see meter parking. With meter parking, there's the hassle, the time, and that's probably not taken into consideration that people get out, they gotta put in coins, and then, you know, there's so many other things that make it an efficient process. So I much, much, much prefer meterless parking with the city finding ways to make it work, even if that means, you know, taking city funds and putting it towards it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Jennifer Spencer.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm a small business owner, Jennifer Spencer, 218 South Mechanic Street. I not only am a small business there, but I also have residents there. I feel like this is like a lose-lose no matter what happens. For me personally, I can't afford the parking assessments and also can't afford to lose customers. I feel like a lot of the people that are downtown during the daytime hours are in and out shopping. They're in and out of the bank. They're in and out of my store or the one across the street. They're not spending an hour or 2 hours. I feel like a lot of the issues with parking downtown is probably with the new residents that are downtown, which are plentiful. We have tons and tons of new residents downtown, which is fantastic, but our businesses are still struggling. So being a small business, I also frequent the other businesses. So the restaurants are struggling too. It's not just small businesses. We're all suffering. And I just don't feel like Jackson is there yet. I don't feel like, I mean, if I go to Ann Arbor, I know that I am prepared to pay a parking assessment, you know, when I go to, or parking meter when I go to those towns. I just don't feel like Jackson's there yet. Although we do have a lot of new people that are coming in that are not from the area, so they wouldn't know any different, and it would be cool with them, but I just don't feel like we're there yet. I also can't afford a parking assessment. That's where I say I feel like I'm lose-lose no matter what happens. And that's all I had to say today. So thank you for your time.
Candy Blake.
Good evening. Once again, I'm up here like a broken record. Candy Blake, 225 South Mechanic. I own Candy's Busy Bee Cafe. I read in your thing where you're saying the bill went up $150,000. When I first got my business, all this maintenance was done by city workers. They did a fine job, very fine job. No complaints. Now, we get no mulch, no weeds taken care of, no snow removal, the alley's full of ice. Like, I don't understand what you're trying to bill us for. Maintenance on what? We don't have maintenance, and I have a stack of pictures to prove that there's no maintenance. We can go right now and look at the parking lot. There's no maintenance. So for you to charge us for maintenance, that's just ridiculous. There's no maintenance. I don't know what happens in other parking lots, but the one down here, there's no maintenance. I have a stack of pictures if anybody would like to see them, with snow all the way up the tires. My customers are getting out in snow. They're walking through ice. I have called down here. I have came here. I have complained a million times. It's like a broken record. I don't want to come here and complain every time I come here. I don't want to pay for stuff that I'm not getting either. You're not going to go to the grocery store and pay for a whole cart of groceries and only walk out with 2 things. It's basically the same thing. You want us to pay for stuff we're not getting. And if we can give tax forgiveness to IHOP 10 years, they didn't have to pay taxes for 10 years. Why don't they pay for the parking lot then? Charge the residents for the meters. My customers said they would rather pay and have it maintained than not have it maintained. It's not maintained. It's never maintained. There's glass, there's leaves, there's weeds, you can't see pulling out. Like I said, if anybody would like to see the pictures, I have a stack. I've showed them to you all a million times. And once again, we're here talking about the same thing. So I would like a resolution, but I don't feel that we, the businesses, should have to pay. And per city ordinance, if you charge us, you're supposed to give us the square footage of our buildings. You don't have enough parking to do that and charge all the businesses, so you're gonna have to change that up, rewrite it or something, because your ordinance don't match the parking lot. It does not match. And that's pretty much all I have to say. But like I said, if I don't own it, I shouldn't have to pay for it.
Council, did you guys have any comments? Madam Clerk, did we happen to receive anything by mail on this particular public hearing? Seeing no other comments at this time, I would be looking for a motion and support to close the public hearing.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the public hearing is closed. That brings us down to item B, looking for a motion and support to open a public hearing of necessity for construction on Pearl Street, Cooper Street to Waterloo Avenue. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Public hearing is open.
I wonder if it'd be okay, Mr. Mayor, to have Troy White come up and explain the project to everybody real
I was
quick?
just gonna ask for that. Not really, but yes.
I could tell you work. We developed that look.
Good evening.
Good
So
evening.
we're asking you to have a public hearing regarding Pearl Street. This is the section between Cooper and Waterloo. We previously did this action a couple years ago, less than 2 years ago. But let me come back to that. We got a grant to do water main work and replace some transmission water mains. We're using some EPA grant money, and we're going to be running that up Pearl Street. Now, when we do the work for the water main, we're going to tear out part of the pavement on Pearl Street. We don't need to tear it all out for that water main project, but we're going to tear out some of it. The current pavement that's out there was constructed in 1919. Since then, it's had some overlays. I don't think anything's been done since the 80s or the 90s. It's in bad shape. On the PACER ratings we talk about, it's a 2, where, 10 is the best, 1 is impassable. It's very bad pavement. So what we're suggesting is, while we're doing this project, we go ahead and build the street and clean up that pavement. So we're asking you to have a public hearing of necessity to determine, is that necessary? Is that something that needs to be done? Like I said, we did this public hearing, I could look up, back in 2022. The thing that's been going on since then is we've been working through this grant process for the water main work. It's taken longer than anticipated, and we haven't gotten a bid yet. City ordinance requires that the project be let and the role be confirmed within 2 years of the hearing of necessity. Well, that time is going to lapse, so we're back to do it again to determine, do we want to rebuild the street and repair the pavement, and while we're out there doing the other work. Any questions for me? I think I said a lot.
Can you break down the funding for this and remind people, this is not a pure street project, right? This is a
No,
underground
this
work?
is actually, like I said, the impetus behind this is rebuilding the transmission water main and putting in distribution main to serve the properties in there. The transmission water main, that is the main that moves water from the water treatment plant on Cooper out to the towers and into the neighborhoods north of the river and the railroad. So we got a grant to replace that. Right now, the existing transmission main was built in 1926. It's critical infrastructure. Without that, you hear us doing a lot of work on water mains in neighborhoods, but this is the main that would serve most of the city. This is what gets water out to the tower, which then distributes it out to the neighborhoods. So we got a grant for that. And then while we got some brick sewer in there, so we're gonna spend some money and replace the brick sewer. We're gonna replace the distribution main so that gets water to the houses, and replace the lead services, replace those with copper. So we're doing a lot of work out there. And then, so what we're looking at here is, while we're doing a lot of work, do we also want to finish the job and rebuild the rest of the street? In terms of cost in dollars, we're looking at about a $3.7 million project out here. And the street work we're talking about would be about $600,000, about $380,000 coming from street assessments, if this goes forward. And then the remainder, about $230,000 coming from city street funds. So, it's a big project. The street work would just be kind of the add-on, taking advantage of the opportunity while we're doing all this other work running up that corridor. Is that what you're looking for?
Thank you, Troy. Exactly.
So this is from Cooper to Waterloo, right?
Correct.
But it wasn't planned to do the whole street, but since we're doing the water main, my understanding, that's what we.
Well, yes, it was. Yes and no. The impetus, the thing that started the whole project is replacing that transmission water main. But while we're at it, we started talking about doing the street. As I said, this is we're redoing a public hearing that was done 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago. At that time, we had a public hearing that was determined, yes, let's go forward with the street work and take bids on it. But we didn't get the bids done. We've been held up in terms of the grant money for the water main work. That's why we're back here again to decide, do we still want to go forward with the street work and finish that up? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, so I know that we just finished doing some work in that area. My understanding.
We last year we did Prine Street. We did some CDBG work over there and rebuilt the street, replaced water main and sewer, and then we also did some of our DWSRF 4-inch water main replacements this year. Those were more residential in nature. This is a more major street, and we also got this more major water main and sewer work going on it.
Yeah, the reason I asked, I know like Salvation Army, they got hit the first time, they're gonna get hit again. I guess it's full.
That would be true.
That's good.
Okay. I think one thing I don't have it in front of me, but there are considerations in the assessment policy for properties that own corners, and there's also caps on how much they can be assessed. So the assessments that they paid for the Prine Street work, that would be a consideration of the determination of their assessments on Pearl Street.
Good point, Troy. Thank you.
So Troy, can you tell me the steps after this?
Okay, if you guys, approve a resolution to proceed, basically order construction to go forward, we will put together the plans, take bids on the contract, and based on those bid prices, we'll prepare an assessment roll, and that's when we'll come back to you guys to determine, one last time, do we want to go forward? Do we want to confirm a roll for assessments to have the property owners out there help pay for it?
And so in between that time, the property owners on Pearl Street would be noticed.
Yeah,
with an
after we take
estimated
bids and we get, assessment calculations based on as-bid costs, they would get a notice and that would tell them exactly, this is what your portion would be.
Yeah, so the water main works, that's not part of the assessment. The assessment just street
No.
only.
The assessments are for street only. The water main work will be paid for with a combination of those grant funds and the water funds that come from people paying their water bills. Same is true with the sewer work. The sewer work is not part of it. That comes from, people paying their sewer bills.
And then you said that street portion for assessment total would be roughly how much again?
You know what? I don't want to say the wrong thing.
379,401.
I said 379,400.
That's
Yeah,
estimate.
that's an estimate.
Okay, okay.
And obviously, before it came back for you to confirm, it would be based on as-bid costs. We would know. It would not be an estimate at that point. It would be what it is.
And how many properties are on there? Last question from me.
You know what? I don't have that number in front of me.
It's a big
Deb's counting.
Deb's
I can
counting
see her
over there.
counting right now.
Okay. Thank you, Deb. Council, any other questions?
Troy, thank you so much. Am I understanding correctly that the total project cost estimate, not non-binding estimate, is like 3.7 million, and the street construction would be about $379,000, so a little bit over 10%?
Not quite.
Okay.
It would, you are correct, the total project cost would be about 3.7 million. The street portion of it would be the combination of the street assessments and the street funds, so we're looking
Sure.
more like $600,000 for the street work. Sure.
So even so, this is one of those situations where we're doing the water work already because it has to get done, and we're saying we can actually save in the long term by doing the street at the same time because it's already torn
Yeah,
up.
our recommendation, let's do it all while we're there. And not leave that 1919 paved, portions of
Right.
that 1919 pavement in our wake when we leave.
Thank you, Mr. White, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, if we don't do the street assessments, how much street will we do any kind of street repair?
I don't have the plans in front of me, but, you know, basically the pavement that's not cut to make room for the water main would stay. You'd end up with a situation where, you know, some of the pavement is brand new and looks good, but some of it is 1919 with some patching on top.
Thank you, Troy. I don't have any other questions unless council does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public
Okay, so seeing no other comments on this particular public hearing, looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Public hearing is now closed. That brings us to the next item. Citizens' comment. I will start by reading the rules for speaking before city council during the citizens' comment portion of the meeting. Number one, each speaker will state their name and address prior to addressing council. Number two, each speaker is limited to up to 3 minutes during the citizens' comment portion of the meeting. Council members will not debate or answer questions at this time. Number three, each speaker should be polite and courteous to the council and the members of the public in attendance. While any speaker is free to express his or her opinion on any subject, no speaker may direct personal attacks at any member of the staff or council unrelated to the manner in which they perform their duties, use obscene language while addressing the city council, or engage in disruptive or disorderly behavior during a council meeting. Should any speaker cause a breach of the peace through their conduct, the mayor may declare the speaker out of order. Number five, if a speaker is declared out of order by the mayor or refuses to cease and desist from disruptive or disorderly conduct, the mayor may order the person removed from the meeting. Number six, each speaker may speak once under public comment and may not yield their time to others. Mr. Nicholas Thurston.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Thurston. I live at 410 Van Buren Street, Jackson, Michigan, Apartment B, Ward 5. I wanted to talk about the discriminatory effects of DEI in the city of Jackson as it pertains to local issues. I know a lot of people, when it comes to the subject of DEI, they talk about stuff that happened either a long time ago or things that happened far away. And I think we need to do more to focus on what is happening here now, locally, or at least recent events. So recently, there was a pretty controversial issue of the city of Jackson pushing for grants to reconstruct the MLK Junior Drive Street in Jackson, Michigan, and assessing the neighborhood citizens and businesses significantly high assessments. And so the city can't participate in special assessments, but the nature of the project is totally racially oriented, and I feel the entire project should be dismissed. The street is not in desperate need of repair, and there are better uses of the public funds. I think we should send that money back to the federal government, the RAISE grant, and reassess the way that the city of Jackson is doing business and the motivation behind the decisions that they're making and why. The city of Jackson has participated in an affirmative action program, which is banned by state constitutional law since 2006. They rebranded the term affirmative action to DEI, but all the same unlawful activities are there. When given all of the means and opportunities to do the right thing, the administrators, participants, and beneficiaries of the city of Jackson's affirmative action program intentionally chose not to. The MLK Corridor Improvement Authority has been granted $4.5 million from the city's ARPA funds. If they wanted to pay for the MLK Junior Drive reconstruction entirely, they could do that to let the citizens and businesses off the hook. They refused. Residents in Action was given all the means and opportunity to help the homeless prior to the city's contracts, and they still refused to do the right thing. Even after a $500,000 community centers grant from the state of Michigan, they refused to spend money on the very same property that they demanded everybody else to contribute to. There is issues with the abuse and neglect of infrastructure and citizens. Our water infrastructure should be a bigger priority than it is. And what is happening in terms of how the citizens are being treated by City of Jackson contractors, especially nonprofit organizations, is an urgent concern as well. We're tired of the fraud, waste, and abuse of our public resources and want the City of Jackson to perform its duties in the appropriate role of government, which is a janitor and a custodian of our public resources, our public land, and protecting the rights of our citizens. Thank you.
John C. King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John King, 203 3rd Street here in the city. You ended up your comment at the end of the last meeting. It was actually illegal campaigning for yourself. You know, I mentioned it to you before. You cannot use your positions, which include your seats, to campaign. If you want to campaign for yourself, you come back here and fill out the form, turn it in, and be limited to 3 minutes. But it's our woke city council members done it too. Also illegal, these rules for citizens comment. Trying to take away our First Amendment rights. I know Kathy Schmaltz would never want to take away our First Amendment rights. So, she's a great rep, and she shouldn't be replaced. She's doing a great job. I noticed this weekend during the Blue Wall tour, Kamala Harris still isn't answering questions. And then, there was the 60 Minutes interview. They edited her comments to where she didn't look as bad. I always complain about the media, and I mean, they're just really bad. They lie about him. Oh, Trump doesn't want to go back on 60 Minutes. Last time he was on, they were pushing the lie about Hunter Biden's laptop. So, it looks like Trump might be in good position. So maybe there's good fortune for our company or our country coming up here. The Tim Walz. I don't know much about guns, but you don't load it, with the gun facing up. He said he's a knucklehead, and Kamala Harris, picked him as the VP. There's all the, abortion commercials. Since Dobbs, abortions have gone up. So, with the Democrat Party, I think it's time we need to start electing Republicans and worrying about, the overall best for our country. The election is 2 weeks away, so An important position is the Supreme Court of the state of Michigan. I'm endorsing Patrick O'Grady and Andrew Fink. Don't, get distracted by that justice of the Supreme Court on one of the candidates. Also for the JPS board, I'm endorsing Gina Hastings, William Bear, and Cheryl Simonetti. I know Chris Davis went to a Republican meeting. I seen him walk out slowly, and then he goes online and says he was forcefully removed and had his life threatened. Elena Sharp doesn't even send her kids to JPS, so.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Christy Davis.
Happy Tuesday, Christy Davis, 612 4th Street. I'm just here, just to remind everybody to vote November 5. I'm running for Ward 5. Sorry, Shalonda. I'm hoping to be the new Ward 5 rep. I'm pretty excited. I've had a lot of really good conversations with people and seeing a lot of good stuff happening in Ward 5. I just came from an open house over at Think and Mortar. It's great to see, especially these historic buildings. I love the historic buildings in town. It's great to see that being revitalized and used for some more amazing things. So hope to be one of you guys, so we'll see. Thank you.
Tamara McKay? Okay. Did I say it correctly?
It's actually Tamara McKay.
Tamara.
Yep, I'm at 312 Douglas. Thank you for asking, Honorable Mayor and Honorable Council members. I am presenting today because I came to Jackson with the thought that I would get to buy adjacent lots to the home if I homesteaded and purchased it, which I did. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. And rather than drag up old business, after living here now for 4 years, and again, Arlene, thank you for allowing me to talk to you during that difficult time. But after living here for 4 years, the one remaining adjacent lot, I begged the city council to reserve as a green space because the kids that are in this picture on my phone that you can pass around and see if that's okay, and if not, that's all right. But there's a lot of social determinants that are really against the kids. And I have a lot of kids in my neighborhood. And like 30 kids around my block need some green space. And after seeing this, and I'm not a savior, I'm nothing but the lady on the corner who grows some flowers. And that was my intention when I came here, was to get enough land to plant flowers and garden and things. And the city wanted buildings, the city wanted taxes, and I understand. But I'm suggesting that with this remaining parcel that is adjacent to my current property, that you would consider allowing the citizens in that area a voice, because I've been talking to my neighbors and we all see it. We see that there needs to be a place for these kids to, whether it's throw around a football or do something. They can't cross High Street. I don't know what y'all are doing with the big green space like down the way, but I'm sure it's spoken for. There's a little tiny spot on this corner, and I just would love your consideration. We have bouquet days. We have cookie days. The kids, they respond to it. We talk about insects and the importance of the insects. I think that there's a possibility that Jackson could brand under a butterfly because you have transformative activities here in this community that really change lives. And my life has changed for the better being in Jackson. There's an incredible bunch of people here. And I'm thankful for that. There's a lot of wonderful culture. There's a lot of wonderful activity going on. And I think a lot of people are really trying to create a better place. And I want you to consider this idea of reserving this very small green space for us in the south side because they need it. They really do need it. And, I'm willing to volunteer. I know Will could speak that I volunteered at numerous places, including Ella, outside of my work, and I've done a number of things. And I know I'm running out of time, and maybe I'll come back, but please don't build on this lot. Thank you. No, but I'll get it. I found the lot she's
Mr. Ken K.
We're holding it for one, but we don't have to.
Ken, help me with your last name. I said, help me with your last name.
Shonskevich.
Shonskevich.
Much, much better than last time.
Is that it? Did I say it
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Shonskevich.
Uh-huh.
All right.
The name is Kenneth Shonskevich, 623 Madison Street, and I live in Marvin's Addition. That is over by IHOP, actually, is on the corner of West Ave. And I'm here to address the situation that has been perennial for many, many years now. And I've spoken to the police department, I've spoken to Matthew concerning the excessive speed, the reckless speed. And I would like to upgrade that from reckless to lawlessness. And I believe that when I hear cars that are running down the street, sometimes in excess of 50 miles an hour, this is not an exaggeration. And when they rev their engines, and it is a slap in the face on our law enforcement. This must stop. We are in a spiral, and it's affecting, most obviously, the people of the family of the fellow that was walking the picket line. There's no reason it couldn't happen on Madison Street. As a matter of fact, at Madison and Clinton, there's been 3 accidents prior to July 4th. On the 3rd of July, there was a car that went through the intersection, flipped with 2 children inside, landed on all fours. Nobody was injured, but that's our home. This is improper, and it's actually creating terror. And terror is not allowed in the United States of America, and this is a vital part of Michigan, which is a vital part of the United States. We need to listen to what's happening. We need to, as you were talking about, Mr. Mayor, last week concerning the issues of what was happening with the urbanization, I believe it was. Well, I'm here to say this is happening, and we are setting ourselves up for traumatic experiences that affect our future. Now, I've brought a petition that has 36 signatures on it, and I have copies for each of you folks. And so, and it's speed humps. Speed humps are inexpensive, speed humps are cost-effective, and they're virtually impossible to break except for speed. Let it sink in. It's true. So if I could just hand these out real quick. This is for, I don't know, you or him, okay? And you, sir. Madam? Matthew? Joe? Yeah, good to see you. Did I forget somebody? Yeah.
Yeah.
I found one. Yes, yes, I knew them. Forgive me. That's fine. Thank you. Arlene.
Avion Johnson.
Alrighty, my name's Avion. First of all, it's Kamala. Second of all, anyways, I'll keep this relevant to the city, not federal. So look at this book. It's on the come up by Angie Thomas. You should see the cover. It's a black girl, bold, strong. This book, like the youth in our community, isn't just what it seems at first glance. It's full power, full of truth. When you open it, you realize that it's more than just pages. It's a story of struggle, ambition, and the fight to be heard. Now, I didn't bring this book to talk about literature. I brought it because it's the perfect metaphor for why I'm standing here today. Like this book, our community is full of people whose voices are waiting to be heard. People of all ages, from all walks of life, and what I'm asking you today is simple. Just let them be heard. Mayor Daniel Mahoney, you've got children who are leaders in their own right. They're young, but they're already shaping their own future. Do you remember when they were my age or somebody else's age? Imagine what it'd be like if their voice has been recognized, your ideas were valued, not just a young person, but as someone who wants to say something to say. That's what I'm asking for. Let's give that chance to every young person in Jackson. Vice Mayor Dancy, you know better than most how important it is to shape leaders early. Your time in the military, your work with city programs, all of it shows how much you believe in leadership and building it from the ground up. This proposal is about doing that exact thing, making sure leadership starts early as possible. Let's not wait when people are ready in a traditional sense. Let's trust that readiness comes from opportunity, from being allowed to set up. Councilwoman Robinson, you spent your life mentoring, guiding people of all ages. You know that leadership isn't about age or status, it's about heart. And you've seen that in the firsthand in your community work. Think about the potential we can unlock if we allow more people to step in leadership roles. Councilman Forgrave, in the library, you see it every day. Kids taking ownership of their ideas. Councilman Woods, you are one of the youngest sitting on this council, and you know what it means to step into leadership at a young age. Councilwoman Hunt, you have heard me speak at many school board meetings, and you're a mom, a mentor, and an advocate for the youth, so you know how important this is. Councilwoman Gunn, you've been committed for a community for years, supporting events and initiatives to uplift people. So let me tell you something. I created a proposal with the DEI about changing the age limit. The age limit for the Youth Council, it should be available for everyone, no matter an educational status or age. I have wrote books, I'm a published author, I've wrote essays, I spoke at many events, many things that other high schoolers can't. And I believe it shouldn't be up to educational status to participate in civics. Thank you.
That just gave me chills. Okay. Heard loud and clear. Let's talk. Miss Kathy Moore.
Good evening. Kathy Moore, 1513 South Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. I only came up here to say once again thank you, Forgrave. I didn't properly thank you for your proposal for 100%. I thank you. And my buddy back there, Jonathan Green, Mahoney, all of you, I still thank you for what you did for MLK assessments. And if the young man would check himself, MLK is a mix, very mixed now. I mean, my people are almost gone. It is such a mixed diversity there on the south side now. It's not just black. It is so mixed that I wonder where I am sometime, but I know where I am. J.D. Vance, isn't that his name? Is running as, yeah, with the guy, yeah. Anyway, he stood up, and I was proud of him because he said, yes, Republicans do lie. Yes, Republicans do create things to help the media look at them and to help the citizens look at the wrong things. I liked him when he said that. I really appreciated J.D. Vance for standing up as a Republican and saying that they do lie. They do create. They cause confusion. I like that about him. Mayor Mahoney, I consider you a man with the fruit of the Spirit. And if no one knows what that is, pull your Bibles out and look up the fruit of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22-23. You are a very humble, loving man. You are giving it your all. I have not seen you out there slopping mud, throwing mud all over the place. You have ran, to me, a fair campaign, and I appreciate you for that. That's something that other young men and women can look up to and see how to run a campaign, to run for an office. I appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That will conclude our citizens' comment tonight. And we will move on to the consent calendar. Looking for a motion and support for the consent calendar.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Before she does it, make sure you just refresh your screens, and then Madam Clerk will tally and display the vote. Right. Consent calendar passes unanimous. That brings us down to item number 9. Item A, East Side Economic Development Update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got done just in time. So a couple things to update you on the east side. I think I've referenced there's a couple groups, committees that have formed up. The process is being effectively led by the hospital. There's a term in the healthcare world called place-based investing. It's as if they saw the Anchor Initiative and said, hey, we should just call this place-based investing, but it's something that they're doing nationwide. But there is a steering committee that's comprised of C-suite type individuals from the businesses over there, and they're tasked with looking at higher level stuff. So what we're working on right now is defining a scope and a cost of a feasibility study for East Michigan Avenue, and the feasibility study is effectively close your eyes. What do you want to see East Michigan look like, and what do you think we should have on East Michigan from every aspect? The types of businesses, to the layout of streets, to where housing should be and things like that. How should that look from a 30,000-foot view? And we also have a working group, and this working group is focused on more tactical level operations. It's comprised of people like Beth Kuiper from the DDA, Corey Mays from Community Development, Malik Goodwin, our economic development contractor. And what they're doing is they're really picking off, you could call it low-hanging fruit. That's okay, but what they're doing is they're attacking the obvious things. What I said to Shane after the last meeting is we didn't need an RFP to come up with 100 homes. I just needed an OG from the east side to tell me what to do, and that's what he did. And so what they're doing is they're focusing on the housing. They're focusing on stuff that you guys approve here, seemingly on a weekly basis. The properties at the last meeting, the VMG, that represents I wouldn't say first, but another component of the healthcare district, as we call it, redevelopment with housing, with single-family, multifamily. And that dovetails with the Allen School project, which, fingers crossed, I'm hopeful will kick off in December of this year. They have a reinvigorated developer who's been meeting with the hospital and meeting with us. And their words have signaled that they would like to be under construction in December. So you have those things happening. Obviously, the 100 homes is happening. 100 homes is very big on the east side, adjacent to Cooper Street and around the Ganson Street. And we'd like to see with the VMG properties move our progress over there. So that's happening. And then the last bit that's worth mentioning is that on this working group is MDOT's involved in the working group. We've been hearing over the last few years that the East Michigan corridor and East Michigan Avenue will be redone. The timetable for MDOT to do significant work in the city has been pushed back, but they will be working on East Michigan Avenue from the 127 exit into the city and all the way up to Cooper Street. What we're gonna be seeing from them in the short term is some changes with the traffic layout and traffic patterns based on striping. They can do some small tactical level stuff around the hospital, around Page Avenue, and that's where they want to start. Full reconstruct and things like that won't be in the discussion for a number of years now, I would say over 5 years. So that's what's happening on the east side. There is a steering committee meeting at the end of this month, and that's where hopefully we can define the scope of work for the feasibility study. Because you could go big. You could say, okay, we're going to really dream as if money is not an object, or we could dream in a more rational and reserved style. So hopefully, after the meeting on October 31st, I'll have some sense of where we're going with that and ways that city council and the public can participate, because with those types of meetings and the feasibility study comes with visioning sessions and public meetings to talk to the people who will be most affected by these things and people who would want to contribute to what's going on. So that's what I have for an update.
Council, any questions? All right, seeing or hearing none, that moves us to item B. Looking for a motion and support for the recommended approval of separating the Director of Police and Fire Services into a Police and Fire Chief.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, passes unanimous. That brings us down to item C, looking for a motion and support to approve the award of the signal shop maintenance contract to J. Rank Electric Incorporated of Mount Pleasant, Michigan, for a term of 2 calendar years with 2 possible 2-year extensions, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the appropriate documents.
I'll make the motion for discussion.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Councilmember Wood, you said discussion. Did you want to start? Excuse me, did you want to start discussion on this particular item?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we are likely to get a cheaper bid. And I think that if what the engineering department is telling us, or I'm sorry, it might have been engineering, might have been DPW, was telling us about the history of work that we've got with this person, it's a contractor, but they've got an employee who's been basically housed within us for years. I think I'm comfortable going forward with this. Thank you.
Any additional comments?
Was anything done during the interim of these 2 meetings regarding this contract? I know we had discussion about it last time, so any changes, any updates to report out?
No, well, we're waiting for the action on this. We've done some preliminary stuff based on how this could go, but like, no, we're not going to, we need this to be decided on. If this goes down, then we'll come back with a bid, but I can't have Troy working on what ifs. So he's done a little bit of work to point us in the right direction, kind of made a couple iterative steps, but this came back for reconsideration as is. So that's what's happened.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. And the item passes 5-2. Moves us down to item number 10, looking for a motion and support to approve the resolution determining the necessity for meterless parking in downtown Jackson as recommended by the Downtown Development Authority.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to say what Candy was talking about. So I spent a lot of time there. Kenny at a Busy Bee, and in that parking lot, I noticed that what they were saying is basically is true. The alleyway is messed up, was messed up. It rained, it get wet, icy. Not a lot of things was done. For me, I would love to see meters, but I know the DDA talked about that, and it had, the community people said no, because I think that everywhere you go outside of Jackson, that's meters downtown. I think the downtown is growing. I believe we can handle that. I think we're ready. I know we're ready, but I know that's not on the table, so I just think getting rid of meterless parking would be the ideal thing. But just talking with Kenny and what they was talking about, a lot of things, I just didn't see a lot of work was done to maintain that parking lot particularly. Maybe other parking lot, but for some reason about that parking lot, it just wasn't maintained. Snow wasn't removed at a timely manner everywhere else. So I agree with some things what they were saying. So, and again, I just think it's time to really, hopefully in the future, near future, we can really take a hard look at meter parking. That's my thoughts. I'm voting no. Thank you very much.
I do have a question. When is the last time we've looked at the possibility of metered parking?
I'm looking at Beth. Is before Beth's time, I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, and then we had a meeting
Beth, come on down.
We need that Price is Right walk-down music.
All right. Good evening, all. Beth Kuiper, DDA Director. Mayor Mahoney, thank you so much. City staff, council members, yes. So we did have meetings 2 years prior before I started. And there was 3 meetings, and those were all public meetings. And the agreement was from the small businesses that we would stick with meterless parking. As the small businesses felt that this was in the best interest for them. And then once we found out that assessments were going to go up once again, we held another meeting last February. It was February 29th. We had it over at Christoph's, and it was the same exact information that we had received before. I also sent out a survey just to make sure for those that could not make the meeting, and it was the same response that meterless was the way to go. So that's where we're at right now. And then at our last board meeting on 10/10, we brought this up once again to the board, and we had decided we got all yeses, and everybody agreed that we would just stick with the path unless we heard otherwise. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? No?
Yeah, I'm trying to think how to formulate my questions. So it went up again. So what's the typical kind of assessment? It's different per business?
Yes, it is, because it's based on the type of business,
Yep.
the square footage, and number of employees are a factor, and things like that.
Okay, so there's a lot of variables.
And what is factored in is if you already have some parking, maybe you own a business where there's a private alley in the back and you can have a spot back there. If you say you needed 10 spaces based on your usage, your square footage, and hours of operations, things like that, and you had a space in back, you'd get credit for that one space. So your assessment would only be for 9 spaces.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I'm hearing the concerns that Candy is raising, and it feels like she gets frustrated. She comes here often and raises issues. And especially if she's paying an assessment and there's, again, no snow removal and the upkeep and the maintenance that is supposed to help with isn't being met? Or is that the purpose of those assessments?
Yes. And so almost the only thing I would push back against is the performance of city employees on things like snow. The fact of the matter is, and this is something that is very difficult for us as staff to point out sometimes, is like, there's not enough money. These assessments aren't enough. The reason why Candy can go a whole year without seeing much in maintenance is because that year we were working on another parking lot. And we spent everything that we took in for assessments and then dipped into the fund balance for it. So if you're down on parking lot 9, which is where the Busy Bee is, you will have no conception of what happened in parking lot 21, where we had to rebuild it, and for the sum of a couple $100,000. So yeah, it can feel like you're not getting anything for your money, but the system is improving thanks to your money, and the system is improving for all of downtown. So it's a little bit like whack-a-mole, and it's a little bit like whack-a-mole with not a big enough stick. But we're doing the best we can. The engineer in the assessing office presented to the DDA, and actually it might be worthwhile to have them present here in future years to show where the money actually goes and how far it doesn't go. That's the reason why someone like Candy or someone who has a business near another parking lot, they may not see everything they want to see based on what they're paying, but the snow is being removed, things are being done as best as we can, but we're also in a situation where we have to reconstruct some of these parking lots from time to time, and that's a big, big hit.
Yeah. That makes sense, but it doesn't, I mean, it makes sense dollars and cents, but it doesn't make sense for somebody who's paying an assessment. I'll push back on that.
I can't argue
Yeah,
against that.
I get it.
It
No,
makes dollars and cents, but like, it's like,
Yeah, yeah. So
And
I hear her frustration.
I would just add to it just a small bit also. I think some of the things that she is asking for is not like huge investment outside of like maybe investment in time from our staff that already currently helps take care of our downtown parking lot. I'm not shy to say I have a favorite citizen, my wife, whose concerns I have to hear about outside of public hearing, and she gets way longer than 3 minutes. And she is not easy on me, I'll tell you that much now, Mr. Green.
As long as her and Melissa don't text, we'll be okay, buddy.
Lord have mercy. So I have to say, her biggest complaint is the upkeep of our downtown. And it's some of the things that Candy happened to mention, like making sure weeds are taken care of, and making sure that like all of the spaces in our downtown get mulched and get the proper attention in the spring so that it's beautified for the rest of the weather where people are out and about the most in downtown. And I don't think that's too much to ask for additional attention to be given to, especially from a business owner that's been in our downtown for so long. I am curious, and I don't need an answer, just something for us to consider or think about. And I'll give some additional reason behind why I think we should think about this also. Just in my observation from some of the past, probably about 3 months of like spending a very extended amount of time in the downtown area lately. And that is just a question of, have we ever considered metered parking to assist with offsetting the cost of maintaining our downtown? Right now, I think and again, I'm not looking for an answer. But I do know that there are several systems out there that exist that somebody can literally, instead of having to carry around change, can like log in, just like they do in other communities where they log in to be able to pay for parking. They can re-up that parking right from the phone, and it may not take care of like offsetting the assessments for our downtown businesses, but it will provide some additional income, and I think it would free up some staff time. As right now, I noticed on multiple occasions we have multiple individuals like circling the downtown area, and I don't know how they're keeping track of who's parked when or how long, aside from like by sight. I don't know if they've got like a pad. They're like, oh, there's this car has been sitting there this long, but I'm just curious if that's something that we've thought about. There is a cost to us maintaining people being parked, and it's in people capital. And we probably could be using those individuals to just go out inside a car that they see that's been expired for a certain amount of time and have a definitive way to tell that this car has been parked for an extended amount of time. And it would alleviate us from some of the citizens who take up parking spaces in the downtown area, which I know happens also. So just something for us to think about. I don't know how much those systems cost, but I do think that's something that we should consider.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I had that comment on, for Candy's, the Busy Bee. If we could just give that a little more look, see, and a little upkeep if we're not mulching. Because I kind of agree with Aunt Lita with the cost is not the point. It's the fact that they feel kind of left out of the loop of the beautification part. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say and point out, and I'd like to thank Councilwoman Gunn for kind of asking the questions to glean this out. I was prepared to vote yes, but, you know, hearing that this is just like our street assessments, we are charging property owners tens of thousands of dollars into a system that isn't working, like, blow it up. Like, what are we doing? Like, I'm voting no. Once we have a stick that's big enough and a plan with a stick that's big enough, I'll be in favor of it. But right now, you know, you get what you pay for. We can go focus on Candy's lot, and then somebody else will come next year and say, hey, you didn't focus on mine. And we'll just keep going down this cycle. The fact of the matter is you get what you pay for, and we're doing the worst of both worlds where property owners are paying tens of thousands of dollars for something that isn't working. If it's not working, don't pay anything into it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing I would say to that, because I understand exactly what you're saying, but don't blow it up until you have the replacement done and in place. Because if you blow it up, all you're going to do is say to everybody, you get no maintenance this year because there's no money. So work on a replacement and then blow it up. But also understand that right now we're in a situation where it feels like 50% of the people want it, 50% of the people don't. So get ready to also trade the 50% of people who are coming up here and complaining. Like the problem's not going away. You can feel like, okay, we're going to do something and it's going to hit all the problems, but all you're going to be doing is just trading who's mad at us.
So would it be safe to say that, okay, you answered the question. So if this does not pass, then maintenance will not get done in downtown because we don't have the money for it. This proposal is for the next year?
I don't remember it's been a minute since I've been DDA director, so I don't remember when the money kicks in and when it doesn't kick in. I'm in favor of meters, just saying.
All the downtowns have.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, thank you.
Good evening.
What's being considered tonight for the hearing of necessity would be for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, so starting actually back in July, a few months
Okay.
ago and going forward.
So we're going back in, okay.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have a question for Deb?
Am I hearing it correctly? We don't have the money to do more.
Yeah, I don't know why a person on like Webster would pay for parking lot maintenance in downtown. It doesn't make any sense to take taxpayer dollars to do that.
That's how taxes work.
That is how
That's-
taxes work,
yeah.
but the usage of that isn't, I mean, go ahead, that's fine. I want to say for the record, it doesn't matter to me. I feel like meters could solve a lot of our problems, but my point isn't one or the other, it's make sure we have one. So if you want to vote no, that's cool, just know like we'll have to come up with something. And there are trade-offs if we don't have meterless assessments to offset the costs. There will be trade-offs. We'll have to figure something out. But my point is that let's have a plan. Before we blow it up, let's have a plan.
The plan right now isn't working, so, I mean, like, it's.
So
here's my point of view too. Like in the long game, at the end of the day, we're gonna need a tax. We're talking about it. We're gonna need a millage for infrastructure work in the city of Jackson, or we're gonna constantly be behind. Period. Like we're not getting help from the feds. We're not getting help from the state. It's not on the horizon. The only way we're gonna do it is do it locally. And if any of us here think that we're gonna pass a millage while there's millions of assessments floating around and people are paying over the next 10 years, you're crazy. It's always gonna be an uphill battle. Get rid of them all. Start over. You get what you pay for. People need to recognize they get what they pay for, and people need to understand they're getting what they pay for now. And even if they think they're paying too much, it's not covering it. at the end of the day, it's not covering it.
So when they did had the meetings a couple years ago with DDA, John came from engineering, came up and showed them what the price is now and what the price would be for meters, or what it would look like with meters. And with meters, you make a lot more money. You have a lot more money to do things with than more than $150,000. So that's one thing that they show with the meters. Also, with meterless, you get rid of the people who's, what's the word? Rolling, just messing with the system, who's not paying anything, who's not contributing anything. So meters, you'll get rid of those people. It may be a few, it may be more than a few, so you get rid of that. And I know there's something that's gonna come up. I don't know if we wanna blow it up until we get something, but I think DDA did a pretty good job, but for me, when I was there, listening to what people saying, that the city, we not ready for this. If we listen to that, we wouldn't have apartments downtown, because they say we weren't ready for that. If we listen to what people say we're not ready for, then we're never gonna be ready, because whenever we try to implement anything, we're not ready for it, but then now they praise it. So I just think, we want service done, but to get more service done, I really do believe we need to have meters, look at the meter system, and go from there. But I know that's not gonna happen tonight. It may not happen in the next year, whatever, but I think we really should look at that and come back with that, and find vendors and do whatever we have to do, and come back and look at that and see what's available, so that we can really present something to the people. There's gonna be some downtown regardless. They said no, they're gonna say they're gonna close their doors, but I just don't believe that. So that's all I have to say.
So right now, you're saying that the assessments of the businesses is totaling about $150,000. Is that a fair? Okay. In the study that was done on meterless parking, or was there a study done on meterless parking, or was this just like a temperature check of if the businesses wanted meterless parking versus like us doing an actual study? And my question behind that is because what I'm concerned with is making sure that if we go to meterless parking, that $150,000 threshold will at least be met at minimum. Because what I think is going to happen is people will find somewhere else to park, which is great. It'll free up some parking, but it'll also free up our businesses from having that responsibility of an assessment. But it's also going to cause additional burden on their employees who probably park downtown. So I think there's all kinds of nuances to it. But ultimately, what I think we need to be looking at is the cost that we are currently incurring from the upkeep of downtown at $150,000, which we know is more than that. Will it be covered if we go to meterless parking? Because then the upkeep of a system has to be taken into consideration in that number to make sure that we still hit at least that $150,000.
So, excuse me, Mayor, point of clarification, you're saying metered parking?
Metered, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Just
I'm thinking meterless.
Yeah,
because
no, I
it's
know,
like,
because it's right there in front of us.
I'm just logged in and that's the,
Yes.
lot number 2235.
Yeah, right.
I need 2 hours.
So when they did the study, they did a study, and they had a vendor, I think the vendor was from out of country, from France. We can look at that again. And at the time, when they did the study, they were saying it could be like $750,000 to $800,000 annually.
And that's based on the current parking situation.
Yeah, based on the current parking situation, what we have now, that's what the estimation was going to be. Now, would that take care of everything? No, that wouldn't, because, the cost, but we can do a lot more with that.
That's a lot
and
more.
they can add on.
Sound like we might be able to put flowers back up downtown.
And mulch.
Did they say how much time it would take for us to implement something like that? Do you recall? And I'm just asking because, again, if this vote's down, then the question is, because I agree with Jonathan on let's not blow it up if we don't have something in the works to replace it, or in my opinion, if we don't have enough time to go through the process of replacing it, then let's I would be in favor of this personally, to pass it and have a year to like work on preparing the community and like making sure that the dollars will be there.
Doing another study to bring it more current, whatever that costs.
When you asked when the last study was, that's what kind of I was thinking. When we did that before, we were coming out of COVID. We had a lot of different concerns. The business community was still very afraid of how things were going to be.
Yep.
I think it is appropriate to do it again. I think it's always appropriate to stop and ask yourself, is this the right thing
Yep.
to be doing? Is this the right plan, to Will's points? Like, if it's not, maybe we don't use the words blow it up. Maybe we say, let's rethink this,
Yep.
retool it, and come back with something better. But I'm confident that city staff can put together something in a year, or when it takes time to do meters next time. Things I don't know how long things take to get.
Yep, to put meters
But I
in,
do know it's
install meters.
when dreamt about before, was a pretty simple setup with pay boxes strategically placed on the blocks and at the parking lots. It wasn't a heavy lift. Probably some power needs to be run in places, but we're not talking about things that are crazy. The only thing I don't know is those companies that provide that equipment, what their lead time is on getting the equipment.
Yeah.
But I know as city staff, we're here every day. We can figure this out and get it done.
Okay. And so, okay,
Mr. Mayor.
yes, sir.
Respectfully, I'm gonna keep saying blow it up, because at the end of the day, we're talking about $150,000, we have a $25 million budget. It is absolutely nothing, it's a drop in the bucket, and it shows with the amount of work we are doing in our parking lots downtown. The one parking lot we did, last year, was over what we're talking about raising this year. One. It's crazy, blow it up.
I'm the guy who doesn't like politicians say fight, so I don't understand why we gotta fight each other, so.
And so again, if we blow it up,
If we blow it up. If you burn the boats.
one
We'll
thing I
figure
know
out
about
a way.
Mr. Green, okay, come on, that's what I needed to
So
hear.
if this
Thank
doesn't
you.
pass-
burn the
Come
boats,
on, that's what I needed to hear.
you will not be
Okay.
let down.
All right, that's what I needed to hear.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I am in support of let's figure out what the plan is before we burn the boats and not burn the boats on a deserted island. And so I'm happy to, I'm inclined to vote yes on this. And I'd be very interested, as I was not on council the last time we had this vibrant discussion about metered versus meterless. I would be very interested in that, because a lot of that seems persuasive to me. But I think what is happening right now is many members of council are having a discussion about hypotheticals without the actual information in front of us, which I think is useful at a conceptual level, but does not help us actually vote on item A. So I guess I'll just leave it at that I'm a yes, and I'm open to discussion at another date.
Okay, well, that didn't come to council, that was DDA, they did the study. So, and it never came to council because this was a DDA project, that's what they worked on. So it was never a council thing, council have never, I don't think, worked on this. So if it did come to council, I think this would be about the first time.
Then great, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's have a presentation. I love when we have presentations.
Yes.
I learned so much. It's great.
It seemed like the most pertinent information is going to be what the cost of maintaining whatever parking meter system is, and proof of concept that the number of vehicles parking in the downtown is going to like meet the demand of what's required to maintain those parking spaces, which definitely will take time. If this passes, can we like make a commitment to better upkeep of those parking lots over this next year? And this is basic maintenance that I'm talking about. I know we won't be able to repave no parking lots, but I'm saying just basic maintenance of our downtown in general. Is this something that we can commit to? And if so, like, what does that commitment look like?
Yeah, of course we can. We definitely can. It's been something we've been inching up on. We've never before had a downtown person just dedicated to the maintenance of things. It's clear that we could use probably 2 or 3. So we'll just have to look at the budget. I'm just hesitant to add a bunch of long-term costs. But there's some things we could do contractually. I know Kelly has been doing a lot contractually. She's the one who maintains the parking islands and stuff like that. She's been working with some people out there in both paid and unpaid work. The Butterfly Gardens, we had a group actually say, hey, we see what you're doing. We're experts in it. Let us help you. It's been awesome. And there's some other stuff that we could do through contracts as we kind of get a sense of what do we really need long-term and what can we sustain long-term. That's the big thing for me is what can we sustain long-term. But yeah, we can definitely look at what needs to be done, make a more concerted effort and make a difference.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't recall totally, but do we have like those companies that we hire to do snow or that type of maintenance? Do we have anyone that would possibly do it?
Yeah, they're doing it for us right now, yeah. We have them, just when, like I said, we're resource constrained. So, like, we're working within the box that we can, but I can make some moves and try to increase that box and increase the amount of work we're getting done.
Yeah, because if they could kind of take on some of that, this needs to be done, or this bush needs to be cut, or kind of add it into their maintenance or contract, I don't know. I know some of them come up for renewal annually, I believe, so, okay. It's just, I would like to see us give it a little more attention. And not just Candy, but Candy's vocal. She's gonna come and tell you like it is. So, you know, but we don't want to slight anyone else. We want to kind of even that out so that we have, you know, a little more attention to those lots. Thank you.
Any final comments?
I guess I like what I'm hearing as far as reconsidering doing more, putting a little bit more effort in. Is this, would this be added to the ordinance? Would this be, would we have to adjust in other areas? Or this is just an agreement that, a consensus that we as the body would come to today? Would we have to consider more pay, more compensation for this work being done? I feel like there's multi-layers to this request that's being made. It's necessary, but I just want to know what does it fully entail?
Yeah, it entails everything you just said, but that's what we get to do. Is we'll throw it at the team and say, okay, guys, this is what the direction is. How are we going to do it? And if it turns out, if it looks like we can do something, we might not be able to do something, we'll have to bring it back to you and say, okay, here's what we're thinking we can do. It might mean some trade-offs, like I said, but I'm confident we can do something. I'm just not confident exactly what that is right now without going back, looking at our planned work and looking at where we could pull some different resources in to get things done. Like I said, we have one person downtown. Are they working on what we need them to be working on? Let's talk about that. You know, should we be less picking up trash on Cortlandt Street and more focused in our parking lots? How can we improve our processes? Who can we pull down to offset some help? So those are some things that I'm thinking about right now, hearing the discussion for the way I'm going to go with it. But yeah, it's nothing that I'm going to be able to figure out right tonight. We got to go back and look at this for a second. But that's where I'm thinking.
Does a decision need to be made tonight? Is it time sensitive?
I don't believe so on meterless parking. We pushed this off in years past. But my only fear, are we putting this off so we can come up with an alternative to the meterless system, or something else.
I think part of the concern, which is kind of, and I'm sorry if you had a follow-up response to that. The concern that kind of just like clicked in my mind is like we have one person who's like maintaining all of downtown. But I know several times throughout the year I noticed that there's like groups of people who come downtown to help maintain downtown. And I think the question is like, you know, some of the areas, and this because we're talking like just basic maintenance. We're not talking like overlaying and restriping a parking lot, but like basic maintenance of a parking lot for like snow removal, making sure that they have mulch, making sure that weeds are maintenance. Doesn't seem like a heavy lift. More of a like a moving around of some resources. And I think we just want the confidence that that can be done. If we're not going to blow it up, per Will's statement.
I have confidence that it will be done. 100% confidence it will be done. There'll be a marked difference between this time next year. Whatever you guys do, really, but going for it, yeah, we'll figure out the things that we should be doing better, the things that maybe we can de-emphasize, and the ways we can leverage the current resources by adding some. The mayor's correct. We have volunteers come down. We have a lot of summer help that we hire to help in downtown. So there's some things that we just need to take a step back and figure out and say like, okay, guys, city council's telling us what we're doing isn't working. They've been clear exactly what you want. So now we'll go out and figure out how to do that.
And then between now and next year, we'll look at or study what would metered parking look like downtown.
Yeah, I think it's probably what needs to happen.
Any other questions, council? Seeing or hearing none, refresh your screen, because I think we've been talking for a long time, and we may need the clerk to repost the question. Refresh your screen, and then the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes 5-2. I'm all about formalities, and I would love to entertain a formal motion for us to have a study, including an RFP for metered parking, so that way we can actually see cost of what it would cost to maintain a system for metered parking. I'll make the motion gladly if someone else doesn't want to. Moved. Any discussion?
When you say including RFP, are you envisioning somebody bidding on what, like meter system, or an RFP for who's going to do the study?
No, for the metered system itself. I think that
We don't need a study.
we don't need to study.
We don't need to study.
Okay,
We know
so
our downtown, we
I
know.
think that there needs to be time for a conversation,
Okay.
right, with business owners, with
Yeah, for
citizens in the community. But more importantly, like, we have to know, like, what is that car count that we need? And I think that having an RFP out there would let us know what that cost is. And then hopefully they would be wise enough to also include what the car count should be to cover the cost of the system and the maintenance of our downtown.
And this is not something that we already have.
Not something we already have.
Like, we don't already have this information.
I mean, so what happens is in the past when these things come up, and this will definitely happen tonight, like the universe somehow telling all these meter parking system businesses, they'll start calling us and they'll start to put together, what they usually do is put together their own kind of study. They come down and they're like, hey, you have this many cars moving this many times over this time period. Here's what we think your revenue could be based on these different rates. So they kind of all do that already. So it just needs to be freshened up. And by doing what the mayor they made his motion, will elicit all that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. This question still says the same. It is a new question, though, right? Mine's still, oh, study for, okay, never mind. I see it. Never mind. Thank you. Okay. And passes unanimously. Thank you very much for the in-depth conversation on this issue. That brings us down to item B, looking for a motion and support for the resolution for construction on Pearl Street, Cooper Street to Waterloo Avenue necessity.
So moved.
It's been moved in support. Any discussion?
This is just the here, the necessity.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get the official numbers later.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I
sir.
have a question for the engineering department. Is there any chance that assessments would be $0 on this? Given your recommendation, would you recommend $0 depending on what the bid comes in at?
If it was $0, it'd have to be an offsetting source of revenue to cover those.
Okay.
Actually, you'd have to have another source to make the offset that loss if you wanted to do the project without assessments.
Sure. Okay.
Any other questions?
So I think when this came up at another time, we talked about doing the work on the water mains without having to do the streets. So that's always an option too, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Seeing or hearing no other questions, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes 6-1, brings us down to item C. Looking for a motion and support to authorize Police and Fire Service Director Elmer Hitt to accept the fiscal year 2024 PSN grant on behalf of the city.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item?
I have a question. When I saw the amendment in the budget, and it showed the different agencies there, how does that work? Do we get a portion of that grant
Yeah,
for the
we're the fiscal agent for the entire grant, and then those are sub-recipients under the grant. So they when they have expenditures, they submit their invoices to us, and then we pay them out of the grant funds. It's the exact same way we did it the last 3 years, the grant that just ended September 30th.
So if we have something that we want to, I don't know, I guess maybe I'm overthinking this, but if we have something in the JPD that we want to do we use those same funds?
Yes, specifically in the budget, when we submitted the budget for the grant, it's broken down how much is allocated to each of those agencies. All of these initiatives, when we have them, those partners participate in the initiatives. And so it's paying for that money pays for their staff to be part of whatever that particular initiative on a given day or time. So it's paying for their personnel costs. And they, again, they submit the invoices to the Jackson Police Department, and then we pay them back money out of the grant funds that were allocated and approved.
Okay.
Okay, seeing and hearing no other comments at this time, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous and brings us down to item D, looking for a motion to support to approve the expansion of downtown Jackson Social District hours of operation.
So move.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
So how's it been going?
Come on down.
Yes, I did. I'm curious, because if we're expanding it, I mean, I'm, the kinds of things that you want to know is.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you once again for letting me speak. Yeah, it's going very well. So when we visited other communities, like me and my staff and team members, we learned that most communities and the other communities that I've worked in is that they just have like a blanket time and days. And it's just easier to enforce. It's easier for everyone to understand. There's some really good aspects of this. So for instance, the businesses and the restaurants have already asked for this as well too. So instead of having to go to the MLCC, requiring that extra license so that they can have alcohol outdoors on their patio, this would just free that up as well too. We also, I'm not sure if you looked at all the verbiage, but it's about a paragraph down to a sentence, so it's easier to understand. But also that it just opens it up. So we're really allowing the businesses to dictate whether they want to do something or not. So we're kind of letting go of the reins. Checked with JPD, and we found out that there was no instances of like any kind of issues. So we just felt like it was a green light to go ahead and just open it up. It's been a year and a half, no problems, expand it. Most communities, they're kind of seeing, because of COVID, they're not seeing as much interaction with the social district. However, it is determined on what community you're in. So Muskegon, not so much. Grand Rapids saw about the same. I was just in Marquette. They're just bumping with it. So it really depends on how much you utilize the program, and then also if you have events. Obviously, we're very event heavy. So we see this as a plus, a win-win for everyone.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Beth, has there been any opposition from anyone? I know you said most business owners are saying yes.
Yeah.
But no one?
No opposition whatsoever. Actually, they asked for it, so that's why I moved forward with this. The only thing I would say is that, like other communities, you see like Grand Rapids, I'm going to pick on them. So because that city is so much larger, they have certain areas and different districts. They were named differently, and what they decided is just combine everything all into one. And so when I went over to the East Michigan corridor, I asked them, and they said, we don't really want that. So we're going to stick with the same boundaries. It's just the day and the times. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, seeing and hearing no other questions, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Passes unanimously. And sorry, brings us down to item F. Nope. Item E. Looking for a motion and support to authorize the creation of a City of Jackson Curb Appeal Program. Approve the program guidelines, and it has already been moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Any discussion?
I have some.
Yeah, okay, you gonna beat me to it?
So, yes, so we're asking you tonight is to approve this really novel program that was given to staff by Councilmember Forgrave for too long ago, and I'm sorry it took this long to get there, but we went through a budget cycle, figured out kind of how things were gonna look, and then did a lot of study on these types of programs in the state and out of the state. So what we're asking you to do tonight is approve some program guidelines. This is a matching program that helps people fix up and dress up the front of their yards, homes, properties, things like that. But it's a matching grant. And the provisions are in the program guidelines. But what we'd like you to we're having you just consider the program guidelines tonight. We didn't think this was going to be, straightforward. We knew that there might be some questions and maybe even a tabling of this. So we don't have it funded right now, and that would come at a later date where we ask you guys, based on the feedback we get from tonight and some of the chatter we hear in the community about this, come back with a reasonable amount to help us put behind this to pilot the program for next year. This is something we'd roll out an application phase in the spring and try to have everything wrapped up by the end of the summer next year. But I think it's really good. I think this does a lot in our non-CDBG areas. This would be for all of the city. But it's really good from my perspective. I think it addresses a lot of the needs that are out there. I mean, we're not going to solve everyone's problem, but I think this goes a long way to telling people in the community that we want to help as best we can.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, Jonathan, you said matching. Where would, or is it a person's funds, or is
Yes,
it
it's
another
they're-
organization's fund?
I mean, I guess they could leverage dollars and get it from another organization, but say for example, so this is an 80%, we're gonna pay it to 80%, up to
Okay.
$2,500.
So
if
that's
someone-
what you mean by the matching,
Yeah.
that they have?
Yeah, they gotta
Okay.
have a little bit. So, maybe someone comes to us with a $500 project, we're gonna be into it for 400. They gotta come up with that other 100. So at the max of, say the project costs 25,000, costs 5,000, we'll be in it for the full 25. So, it looks as, someone could be putting in as little as 20% into it or up to 50%, but the maximum amount's gonna be $2,500.
I like it. And my question was going to be what's the pot, where's it coming from? But it's obviously in the incubation stage, so to speak, so.
Yeah, so to give a little bit of insight onto how I approach things, I'm paranoid about money, paranoid that I don't go into meetings and I promise the same dollar being spent like 3 times over. So here we are in November. Our fiscal year started July 1st.
Right.
I wanted to get a sense of things in December and January, our mid-year. It's like, okay, looks like we've got X amount of thousands to put against this for a pilot. Wasn't ready for that tonight, but at least wanted to give you guys a program guidelines. This has been a fun program to research. There's always before and afters, and it's just really whet my appetite for the kind of difference we can make here in the city. But the reason why there's no dollar amount is because I'm paranoid. I want to get to that mid-year point, see where we are with things. Last meeting, I went big and said, let's do it, the extra $300,000 because I planned for that. This one, I'm planned to wait and see in December, January time period to figure out how much to do. And to see what the chatter was with feedback. I mean, maybe we're gonna shoot too low on a pilot type of thing, but I wanted to see what our reaction was.
So if we approve the program, does that approve the language in the proposal?
Yes, it approves the program. We're asking you to approve the program guidelines tonight.
Okay. So I I would ask for this to be tabled at least one meeting, just to give some time for everybody on council. If they, I mean, and this is, if you guys are okay with this, just to give some time to be able to like go through it. Like the one first thing that kind of sticks out to me is like, I think most people who will be applying for this will probably be because they just can't afford to get it done. And the immediate thing that sticks out to me is that projects can be reimbursed for 80% of eligible cost up to $2,500, meaning that that citizen would have to pay for it first and then be reimbursed for what they paid for. And I think, which I haven't completely read through it yet, but it also says that the projects must be pre-approved by Community Development Department. So is there a process in which Community Development Department would be reviewing these projects? Because it also says it has to be done by a licensed professional to do everything, and that the citizen won't be reimbursed for work that they do themselves, which means it's going to be a little bit of a process. And then that citizen still has to pay for everything themselves up front to be reimbursed 80% of whatever that project is. So I would just ask for, I love the concept of this. Definitely will be in support of it for sure. I just would like to have a little bit of additional time to kind of highlight some things that I would recommend to change.
Yeah.
And-
Good idea personally. I'm sorry. To get that money up front, and especially like you said, if they're going to be on the third floor talking to everybody anyway, it seems like something we could probably pull off pretty easily.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to postpone to the next meeting date.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
I just had one thought come into mind. Some known residents would be able to take care of this project, but would their income levels come into play?
Oh, there's nothing with income levels on this.
There are none?
No.
It is? Oh, there's, oh, okay.
Oh, I missed that.
Ah, okay.
So is that,
That's up for discussion too.
okay, because I've had some residents that didn't qualify because of the amount. So I guess that was one thing I didn't really put all in my thought process when I read it. I was excited about it because I know there are people that do have projects but would appreciate a little help. So there's that 80, I must have forgot that part, but there's a maximum of 80 income, earned income, or whatever.
It's gross income.
Gross income.
And that's a cap.
Maybe we could change that
Okay,
to like
well-
a
well,
AMI percentage. That way it's more based off of what the household has coming in comparison to the family size versus just a dollar amount. It's $80,000 and you got 5 or 10 kids.
Well,
that's a cap though, right?
Ain't a
So,
whole lot of money. I'm just saying,
Mr.
if
Mayor.
you had 5 or 10 kids,
So,
you know.
I knew this was gonna come up, and I wanna encourage all the discussion at any time and place, including city council meetings, but like, I knew that this big new program was gonna
Yeah.
elicit a lot of conversations, but I needed to get it in front of you sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Happy to have additional meetings. I could sit here all night. I don't have Corey here, though, to help me fill the space when I need to take a drink or a pause, to talk about this, but this was put together by them, and the point of this tonight was to start to get your feedback and start to work directly with staff.
Okay. Well, motion's on the floor with support. And seeing or hearing no further discussion on the item, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, we'll see this come back in 2 weeks, or whatever the next meeting date is. 3 weeks. I knew it wasn't 2 weeks.
Something else happens in 2 weeks. I don't know what it is.
You know, item F. Item F, looking for a motion of support for change order 1 to the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Phase 2 Water Main Replacements Contract with Dunnigan Brothers.
So move.
support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote.
Refresh twice. Okay, there we go. I did it. I refreshed it twice.
Item passes unanimous, brings us down to item G. I'm looking for a motion and support for approval of Traffic Control Order 2404 to install school zone speed limit signs, reducing the speed limit to 25 miles per hour during the hours of 6:50 to 7:20 a.m. and 2:10 to 2:50 p.m. on Argyle Street between Brown Street and Wisner.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
So that's just like a 30-minute time slot, right? How will this be posted as to what time that starts and what time it ends?
There'll be signs will be erected that tells motorists, between these two time periods, that's when this lowered speed limit will be in effect. Basically, it's supposed to be, during drop-off and pickup time for kids going to school. This is being done at the request from JPS. Is this thing even, I struggle with this thing.
It's on now.
All right, now I'm on there.
There we go.
This is being done, we got a request from JPS. I think they sent us a request based on some input they had from some people over at their school. Basically, all it's going to cost us is some signs and some posts. And it's a reasonable thing to do. And then, that speed limit will be effective for just those reduced times.
I just didn't like the 5:10 to 5:40. I'm even hour or half hour. It's like, okay, am I going to realize that this is 2:10?
Basically, it's based on the request, which is based on their start and dismissal times.
Okay.
So I know this may make it a little more complicated than just a sign and some posts. So my concern is like a lot of times people just don't pay attention to the sign. They drive the speed limit that they're used to driving. Is there a possibility of it being like, if this light is flashing, speed limit is 25 miles an hour? What's going to happen is people don't realize that changes during this 30-minute time frame, and then they get a ticket because it's 6:51, and they just didn't realize that during that time frame the speed limit is reduced for 30 minutes.
Anything is possible if we want to pay for it. And, then we're getting into power sources and service drops and that type of thing from consumers. I think this is more of, well, we all know how speed limits work, right? They they generally are set to what people drive, and then people usually drive to reflect the situation they're in. And when you're at start time and dismissal time, you're going to have a lot more traffic, which is going to contribute to that anyway, in terms of people driving at a reduced speed.
Yeah, the only thing I would layer on top of what Troy said is we've been adding some more of the lit type stop signs. I'm in favor of more signalization, not from like traffic signal standpoint, but more notice. And so I will be pressing these guys, our staff. They do have signs, school zone signs that illuminate during those times when traffic is noticed. So it does catch your eye, and that's what I'd be pressing for. 6:50 right now, it's pretty dark. We're gonna need those types of things. So that's what I'll be pressing for to have installed here. The technology's out there. We do them a lot now. There's plenty of instances in the city where our stop signs illuminate. This could be the same thing. And I was out there today to observe it, to make sure, and this, I think, would be a good addition to have, to be honest with you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. All right, item passes unanimous. Next, I would be looking, Next, I'll be looking for a motion to go into closed session pursuant MCL 15.268D to consider the purchase of real property.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
The clerk will tally and display the vote. Clerk said, slow down, Mr. Mayor, slow down. Okay, we shall return.
We shall return, but you don't have to be out here. You can go home, yes you can. You don't have to.
When I was circulating, I talked to him for about 45 minutes. He signed for me, and then he wouldn't vote for me because I was too young to vote. So I would like some speed bumps.
Okay. Roger. That's why I had to ask. That's why I had to ask. I'm like, I'm not butchering this. Looking for a motion and support to come back.
So moved.
From
Support.
the closed session, been moved and supported. All in favor say it on your computer by voting, and then the clerk will tally and display the vote. Yes. Oh, refresh your screens first. All right. Item passes unanimously, and we are back now.
So do I say?
Mr. Dancy,
Yes.
do you have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 736 Page Avenue and all permits, license owned by seller for the price of $105,000, and for the city attorney and city manager to prepare, make minor modifications, and sign documents to effect the purchase.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. And that brings us down to item number 12, council member comments, and I will start with Council Member Wood.
Go vote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Hunt.
Go vote. No. Yes, it is important that everyone go vote. We're 2 weeks away as of today, so please don't go alone. Take someone with you and make yourself available to carpool and assist those that may not have the ability to do so on their own. I would also like to thank Avion for his bravery, his brilliance. I support his requests, and I hope that we as a council take that into consideration. It is important to allow our youth to exercise their voices, and he has demonstrated that on more than one occasion now, and I am thoroughly impressed. So I hope that the Youth Council will expand that criteria for allowing youth to participate. I also had the opportunity to go to a leadership conference this past week with some city officials. It was an awesome experience. And that's it for me tonight.
Councilmember Forgray.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I would encourage everybody to go vote too. Also, I'd like to apologize for getting a little fiery about assessments. The more I think about it, the more angry I get with how we do things. And it's nobody up here, it's not your fault specifically, so I don't want to have you guys take it personally, including city staff. We're doing the best we can. But the fact of the matter is, and I'll continue to say this, the best we can do right now, doing things the way we're doing, is not good enough. And it will never be good enough. We are fixing 1 mile of street a year, which means we're getting to every street every 120 years or so. Is that 160? Okay, right. And so we're getting to every street every 160 years, and we're charging residents upwards of $15,000 to do it. And I'll continue to say this, it's always going to be an uphill battle to pass a millage. We will never pass a millage. I will bet you $180 million that we will never pass a millage when there are assessments floating around. The only way we're ever going to pass a millage is if we stop doing assessments. So that's the bad news. The good news, however, is 2 weeks ago, we showed everybody that we don't have to do assessments. We voted to not do them. So I would encourage everybody to just keep doing that. And it means we get to less streets. It means we're, gonna continue to have our streets deteriorate at a faster rate. But I think it'll show everybody, you get what you pay for. And I think people, ourselves included, need to wake up. We need to do something different. And if we can continue to do things the way we're doing them, it's only going to get worse, which is not a happy place to be. But I would encourage everybody to start voting no on assessments and just stop doing them altogether, and we can go from there. Thank you.
Councilmember Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank all the staff, city staff, because I've been a little bit of a bug for a couple of weeks here with Community Development Department. Just looking for, some help, and I am very excited that we have taken a look at how we can help residents in the city of Jackson, not just Ward 1, but the city of Jackson, do that facade or little project that they just need that little extra boost on. I too want to thank the young man that was here. He has done his homework. I mean, I've been out and about and representing Jackson and the less fortunate for a number of years. I'll say it's over 35 years, you guys. So I was very pleased. I encourage him to keep going. He's got a big future in front of him, and he's fearless. It looks like to me fearless. So I'm excited to see young people come out that strong. Oh, I forgot what that even means there. But reminding everyone to vote 2 weeks from now or before. Our early voting is coming up on Saturday. An opportunity for people to vote here at City Hall, second floor. And be sure to take someone with you. Encourage, send messages to friends and family to remind them to get out and vote this upcoming next 2 weeks. Thank you.
Councilmember Dancy.
Thank you,
Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor. So, I just also like to thank everyone who came up and spoke. I think we did an ordinance on, we have to look at the ordinance about changing the age and things like that to move that forward. But I think it was a great idea to have that kind of motivation and get up and come, because it took us years to even get that, to get it filled, to get people interested in coming. So having someone like that who's very interested and want to come in and participate, I think that's a great thing. It's a great deal. So I hope we can look into that, see what we can do. Vote once, twice, 3 times maybe. So just get out and vote. 2 weeks, a day, we're going to have a new president, vice president, new Senate, new senator, maybe. Yes, right? And we might have a new state rep, maybe not. And we may have a new mayor. You never know. It all may happen. And the mayor, and that's not open position. So, but get out and vote. Do what you have to do. Do the right thing. Come back in 3 weeks. And everybody should be smiling. Maybe except me, but everybody should be smiling. So I appreciate that. Just a good conversation. Like the mayor said, I love when we come, we really have discussions. It's no 2 or 3 meetings, but we really talk it out, have discussions right in front of everyone so they can see it's happening. So there's no, behind the doors or anything like that talking. But I think that's great. It's great for what we do. It's transparent, so what we're doing. So some people may not like it, but I just think it's wonderful. I'm like, come on, man, it's time to go. But we keep on doing it. So I just appreciate it. And I thank the mayor for doing a good job of keeping us on track. Yeah. That's all I got to say.
Councilmember Gunn.
Happy Thanksgiving. I mean, happy Halloween.
Yes.
Boo.
For someone who wants to get out of the meeting, you're sure talking a lot this evening. Councilmember Dancy. My comments are just, I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate problem solving and being able to express different viewpoints. And, Jonathan, I know that you're doing the best you can with the resources that you have. And so, the pushback isn't because we don't recognize that. But anyway, I appreciate everybody's banter, for lack of a better word, and for the public for coming, showing up, and making comments. So, thank you.
All right. So I will start where they both left off and just say how much I appreciate the conversations that we have here, how we talk through issues, how we talk it out right here in this room where people can hear all of our individual thoughts, and where we agree at, where we disagree at, where we are seeing challenges. Will, don't apologize for being passionate about us, like, one, staying consistent, and two, doing what's right for the constituents that we represent in this community. I know I didn't take it personally, and I know how Jonathan is. I'm sure he didn't take it personally, but I think that, like, people can appreciate seeing that passion is there from you, because not only is the passion there, we know that you are well equipped to, like, make the moves to do something about the concerns. And like, our number one job is to vote, and that's a fraction of the power that we have between meetings, to be able to bring ideas back on how to, like, address these issues. So I just want to say again, like, this it's such an honor to be able to, like, work next to all of you guys, and I truly do mean that. I do indeed want you to vote as well. You got 14 days and 46 minutes to go and make it happen, and the clock is ticking, but the game has already started. Whether you do absentee or you do early voting or you go on election day, I encourage you not just to vote, but to have a plan to vote, like, literally have a plan. I know my plan every year up to this year has been, I want to be the first person to vote. I normally make it within, like, the top 5 people. I'm normally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I don't mind. But now my plan is to do early voting. I plan to go on the 26th to do early voting, is what my game plan is right now. It may change between now and then, but have a plan and then encourage somebody else to join you in that plan. Jackson is a big deal in the state, and I know we are a big deal, and I was trying to look up so I can make sure I don't forget any of the names. Last Friday, we had not one, not two, not three, but 4 sitting governors, 4 currently elected governors in the city of Jackson, sitting down with local business owners to talk to them about their concerns in today's economy. And I think that is a powerful thing to be able to say. So shout out to, of course, our own governor, Governor Whitmer, Governor Tony Evers, Governor Wes Moore, and Governor Healy. So that was Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, and the governor of our own state present here in Jackson for a conversation. And I think Jackson is ready for whatever we decide to do. Because we're going to just keep making Jackson better. Happy 24th anniversary to JTV. Shout out to them. And all the great work and great coverage of all the great things happening in and around Jackson County that they have covered for the last 24 years. So to Bart Howley and his wife Karen, congratulations for 24 years of excellent coverage of our community, and cheers to another however many years, 100 years, let's just say, to you guys being the go-to for covering, including this meeting right now, being covered by JTV, not an ad, just true. I had the honor of attending the NAACP Freedom Fund banquet meeting on Sunday. Some of our other council people were there as well. And it was a phenomenal event as usual. So shout out to the work that the NAACP has done, is doing, and will continue to do. And Ms. Kathy, I just want to again publicly say thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it very much. Like it's certain days, like today I've been extra emotional all day anyway. My cousin's funeral was today. So it's been a very challenging day. So I appreciated the kind words tonight. I try my best to not get overly emotional up here, but you almost got me. I had to suck that tear back into the back of my ducts tonight. I'm telling you, because today has been a very emotional day for me. But I sincerely appreciate your kind words. I mean that, and I'm thankful for those words. So I don't know if it's necessary for us to make a motion. But I do like to do things formally. I think that the words that young man, Avion, came up here and said were very powerful. And I think the earlier that we can get people involved who are looking to be civil servants, the better, because then the more equipped they will be to serve when they are of age to serve in different capacities. So with that being said, I would like to ask if we could make a change in the ordinance for the City of Jackson Youth Council to extend from 7th grade to 12th grade, which I know will take like a first and second reading because it is an ordinance and it's a change to the ordinance. But if do I need to make a formal motion to have that brought back to next meeting, or?
It's within your right. I know what we're doing, though.
Okay, well.
We're bringing it back at the next meeting, so.
Okay.
John prepped me on it before this meeting, so.
Support? Okay.
Always good to do, though.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed the same. All right. Looking to get that young man busy. And invite him back to make sure he speaks during public comment the next two meetings. So I just want to hear him talk some more. That's all my comments. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you for the comments about myself and city staff. We're here for it. We know that a lot of times in life we can get into ruts for doing things for the sake of, that's why we've always done them. And I don't support that, and I like to hear the different perspectives on this council. I love the way you do it respectfully. I love the way you do it passionately, and we'll accept like sometimes you got to blow things up. It's just like, whoa, I get it. I like it. I do, and we're here for it. We have a really good city staff that embraces challenges. You can see none of them are here right now because they all went home and went to bed so they can wake up tomorrow and get after it and start to implement. Beth's here. She burns the candle at both ends, though. But that's what we're here to do. That's the culture we're trying to create and embrace and live at the city, is to engage in these respectful and differing dialogues here with you all, and then go back and do some work and bring it back so you guys can react and take action. You saw that tonight with curb appeal. It's not fully formed. This is what we put together. See this on meterless assessments, a perennial issue that we've been dealing with. And I think Councilmember Forgrave is right. Sometimes you have to kind of speak how absurd things are out loud, and that helps you make the changes. And I've been dealing with meterless parking since 2009, and I've advocated for change for a long time now. And I think that when we say things out loud, like what we're doing right now isn't cutting it, it's never gonna cut it, and no one's ever gonna be happy, then it really sets the table for doing something different. And I'm ready to do that. So thank you all for that, and let's go have a good night. I'll go to bed.
Motion to adjourn.
Come on.
It's been moved and supported, and all in favor say aye. Aye.